This is the Neon Future Sessions, and this is Ray Kurzweil.
It is?
Futurist, inventor, pioneer, my big hero. This is the man who has introduced me to looking into the future in the most exciting way, reading your books, and it's like to me, it's kind of the ideas that founded the concept of Neon Future, the album.
Well, the feeling is mutual. You're expressing the future in music, which is our most universal expression. Every human culture yet discovered has music.
Okay, we're in 2014 now, and I mean, there's a lot of accomplishments, technological accomplishments has happened in the last 5 years. Can you list some notable ones that people can be excited about that are coming out soon and happening now?
Well, my main thesis is that information technology, not everything, but information technology progresses exponentially, basically doubles in power every year. And that's not intuitive, because our intuition is that progress is linear. If you wonder, why do I have a brain? It's really to predict the future, but the kind of problems we had 1,000 years ago, like tracking that animal in the wild, oh, it's coming up my way, I better go a different way. We expected that animal to stay at the same pace, and that was a good assumption. But the reality of information technology is it progresses in an exponential manner, doubling each time. And to demonstrate the power of that, if I take 30 steps linearly, that's our intuition, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I get to 30. If I take 30 steps exponentially, 1, 2, 4, I get to 1 billion. Step 40, I'm at 1 trillion. And it's not an idle speculation about the future. Your cell phone, your smartphone is several billion times more powerful per dollar than the computer I used when I was a student at MIT. And we're going to do it again in the next 25 years. It'll again be 1 billion times more powerful. It's also shrinking in size. My smartphone is 100,000 times smaller than that computer. It'll be the size of a blood cell in 25 years. And in fact, we'll send intelligent machines through our body, augmenting our immune system, basically resisting all disease. They'll go inside our brain through the capillaries and put our neocortex, our thinking part of our brain, on the cloud. So we'll have an extension of our neocortex in the cloud. Now, you can already extend your smartphone in the cloud. If you need to do a search that needs 1,000 computers, you can access 1,000 computers in the cloud for 2 seconds and do very complex things. In fact, the most exciting things that your smartphone does are not in the smartphone. You do a language translation, or even most searches go out into the cloud. In the 2030s, we'll have nanobots in the brain, and if you need a bigger brain, more neocortical modules to think deeper thoughts, you'll be able to access that in the cloud directly from your brain. So that's my vision of what will happen. We're basically going to make ourselves smarter. So these intelligent machines are not an alien invasion of smart machines from Mars. We basically create these tools to extend our own reach. 1,000 years ago, I couldn't reach that fruit, that higher branch, so I fashioned a tool to extend my physical reach. And we already extend our memories. We can access, a kid in Africa with a smartphone can access more information than the President of the United States did 15 years ago. And we're going to literally make ourselves smarter as these technologies go inside our bodies and brains. And there are people that have computers in their brains already, like Parkinson's patients. And the latest generation actually allows them to download new software to the computer that's connected in their brains from outside the body. And that's today. I think we're 10 years away from the sort of maturation of the biotechnology revolution, 20 years away from nanotechnology. So it's not that far. And so young people, people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, I think should be fine, barring some unusual event. My health books are really a wake-up call for my baby boomer contemporaries in the 60s, most of whom are oblivious to this perspective, and they think, okay, I need to slow down, need to retire, I'm going to get sick and die, and that's actually a self-fulfilling prophecy. We actually have a lot of effect over our health just with our own attitude as to what will happen. But we have these future technologies, they're not far away, and the nature of an exponential, and these technologies are information technologies, is it looks like nothing is happening, and then suddenly they take off. Another revolution coming is virtual reality. So we actually are in the same place, but we could be doing this and look around each other and really feel like we're together in a virtual environment. We could be sitting in the middle of the Taj Mahal or taking a walk. Well, like all these things, it comes in steps. So you already have technologies like Oculus Rift, which Facebook just bought for $2 billion. That gives you a pretty realistic, full immersion virtual reality experience. And you got to put on some devices. Right. And a decade from now, this will be very ubiquitous and work really well and won't require cumbersome devices. Go to the 2030s, it'll actually be inside the nervous system. You'll have computers that feed your brain directly from your nervous system with the signals for the virtual environment. And then it can include all of the senses, you know, the tactile sense and smell and taste and so on. And so that's coming. Three-dimensional printing is another revolution. I have over there a little bust of myself that I was scanned with a laser and
this one right here?
Yeah.
Can I pick it up?
Yeah, sure. That was printed on a three-dimensional printer. For most applications to really replace manufacturing, for example, to be able to print out clothing, that's really nice clothing, that's probably 2020. And then there'll be lots of really cool open source designs you can download for free from the internet, print out at a few pennies per pound, and people will be around the world will be able to dress very well at almost no cost. And then people say, oh, well, there goes the fashion industry.
Let's talk about singularity. I mean, I wrote my song Singularity. Thank you for cameoing in the music video. Yeah, let's break it down for everyone.
Well, I mentioned that information technology is progressing exponentially. So by 2029, we'll have the hardware and software to create human-level intelligence. And for those who've seen the movie Her, Samantha is an example of that. I mean, she's very human-like, not just intellectually, but in terms of her emotional intelligence. And we're going to ultimately merge with that. In 2030s, we're going to send these nanobots into our brain. They'll put our brain on the cloud. And so rather than having just 300 million modules, which is my estimate of the size of the neocortex, we could have 1 billion or 10 billion. So we will, in the 2030s, be a hybrid of our biological thinking with our biological brain and non-biological thinking. But the non-biological part is subject to my law of accelerating returns, meaning it will double in power every year. Our biological thinking is fixed for all practical purposes. Go on to 2045, and the non-biological part of our intelligence will be 1 billion times more powerful than the biological part. And that's such a profound change that we borrow this metaphor from physics and call it a singularity, meaning we can't fully understand all the consequences. But
good and bad.
Right. I mean, technology has been a double-edged sword. Fire kept us warm, cooked our food, but also burned down our villages. And there's this intertwined promise and peril. So you can imagine easily a lot of negative scenarios, and you only have to look at sort of all the movies, which are dystopian, where the computers and robots have it in for us. I have a somewhat different perspective in that I don't think it's going to be us versus them, because I think we're going to merge with these technologies and we're going to become enhanced with these technologies, and that's why we create these tools, is to make ourselves greater. We're the only species that seeks to change ourselves. And I would say that the positive outweighs the negative. I mean, if you read writers like Thomas Hobbes or Charles Dickens, they describe the life a few centuries ago as poverty-filled, disease-filled, harsh, brutal.
Short, brutal.
Yeah. Life expectancy was 37 in 1800. Mozart and Schubert died in the 30s of bacterial infections, and that was typical. So we've come a long way. Despite appearances, the world is actually much more peaceful. This is the most peaceful period in human history. It doesn't seem that way because we have such great information about all the conflict in the world. I mean, 100 years ago, there could be a war in the next city and you wouldn't even know about it. So I think life is getting better. Our communication with each other creates a sort of wisdom of crowds and a democratization. I wrote that the Soviet Union would be swept away by the then emerging sort of social network of early forms of email and teletype machines and fax machines, and that's exactly what happened. We've had a great wave of democratization with the rise of the web in the 1990s. We see the democratic impact of social networks today. So I think, but there are dangers, and there are ways of dealing with it. I've written actually extensively on how to keep these technologies safe. But ultimately it'll be such a profound transformation, such a singular transformation, that we call it the singularity, and sort of borrow this metaphor from physics, where a singularity in physics is a black hole, and the forces are so great that you can't actually see beyond the event horizon. So it's very hard to see beyond the event horizon of this historical singularity that's coming in the 2040s.
You've been successful with so many predictions, reading your books. What are ones that are still taking time to get to that place? And what are ones that have happened?
Well, I wrote a 150-page essay, How My Predictions Are Faring. If you put those words, How My Predictions Are Faring, into Google, maybe add the word Kurzweil, you can get that essay. And I went through all of the predictions I've made, including 147 predictions about the year 2009, which I made in my book, Age of Spiritual Machines, which I wrote in the late 90s, like 15 years before 2009. About 86% were correct. The ones that were not correct are really only off by a few years. When I made a prediction about the specific power of computation and the price performance, those are very accurate. It's remarkable how predictable those basic measures of price performance and capacity are. When I made a prediction that includes regulatory and cultural factors and legal factors, then those are a little harder to predict. So for example, I predicted we would have self-driving cars, and I marked that, and that's wrong, because they weren't ubiquitous in 2009, but it's not that wrong, because right. I mean, here we are 5 years later, and the Google self-driving cars have gone over 500,000 miles with no incidents, much better record than human drivers, and that before too long will be a widespread technology. But it didn't happen by 2009. So it's basically a timing issue, particularly when issues involve things like regulation, which are harder to predict.
Thank you so much, Ray. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good interview.
Hey, this is Steve Aoki. Thanks for checking out my video. Click on one of the links to see more of my videos, and don't forget to subscribe to see my newest stuff as soon as it's released.
We're alive right now. Let's get high right now.